Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So I wanted to go ahead and give you guys my newly updated top 10 pound for pound list. Now, before I go ahead and get into this list, I want to answer a question that every now and then I'll get a sprinkle of viewers or subscribers that will ask me this question. Yeah, I've seen the question probably about maybe 4 or 5 times within the last year or two. This is the question. Dante, why do you talk so positive about fighters like Mayweather, Ward, Rigo, Tim Bradley, etc.? But yet you never really say a lot of positive things about Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez, Nonito Donaire before he lost to Rigo, right? I've had, like I said, a sprinkle of people ask me this question. So I'm going to go ahead and answer the question. Now, I can answer this question in many different ways, but let's go ahead and start with the first way to answer this question. The way I'm answering this question is by showing you a graphic. So you want to know why I talk so positive about fighters like Floyd Mayweather, Ward, Rigo, etc., etc. Well, here's your answer right here. You see this graphic that you guys are looking at right here? This is top 2, top 3, the most highly regarded pound for pound list in the sport of boxing from BoxingScene.com. If you guys look at this graphic, you'll see number 1 is pound for pound Floyd Mayweather, number 2 is Ward, number 3 is Rigo, number 4 is Tim Bradley. This is the reason why I talk about these fighters in a more positive fashion than I would talk about Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez, or whatever other fighter that you want me to praise or give them the same type of credit that I would give a universally ranked top 4 pound for pound champion in the world. See, this is the problem when it comes to internet fans. They want you to tell them things that aren't true just because they like this fighter in particular. You want me to tell you, when it comes to Manny Pacquiao, you want me to do a video and say, oh man, that Manny Pacquiao, oh, he is unbelievable. You see how Manny Pacquiao could just stand in the pocket and never even get touched? Isn't that impressive? You see how he just, punches come at him like the Matrix and he just sees them in slow motion. And then he comes back and delivers these beautiful combinations. Isn't it unbelievable how when Manny Pacquiao is dealing with a different type of style, he can just adjust so quick? I mean, he goes from plan A. If that doesn't work, he goes to plan B and then C, so on and so forth. Manny Pacquiao, he is in a league of his own. I mean, the only person I could really see competing with Manny Pacquiao is someone like a Sugar Ray Robinson or a Sugar Ray Leonard or a Hearns. It would have took someone of that era to really match this guy's skill. Now, see, I could tell you guys all of that, but you guys know that it would be a bald-faced lie. You know that it would be falsification. But a lot of you Manny Pacquiao fans don't care. You still want to hear it. Even if you know it's not true, you still want to hear it. You know what it reminds me of? And I think a lot of people around my age, you can relate to this. If you're a grown-ass man, grown-ass woman, etc. You ever been in that situation before where you had a little-ass kid and they had a coloring book, right? Kid could be 3, 4, 5, whatever. And they bring you this work of art and they say, look at what I did. And you look at it and it's just a gang of scribble scrabble, right? Just a gang of scribble scrabble. And what do you say to that kid? You say, oh man, that is nice. Look at all the colors. How long did it take you to do this? Oh man, that is really nice. Now we know that that's not true, right? But you're going to tell that kid that. Why? Because you don't want to discourage him. You don't want to hurt his feelings. You don't want to tell him the truth, right? He's too young to handle that. And this is the same thing that these Manny Pacquiao fans, they want us to say. They want us to say, oh man, that Manny Pacquiao, oh, awesome. The only person I could see even competing with that guy is Sugar Ray Robinson, and et cetera, et cetera. They want you to lie. But I'm going to tell you something right now. You are a grown-ass man. I'm not going to sit over here and try to protect your feelings because I'm afraid you're going to get discouraged. Your feelings are going to hurt. You are a grown-ass man. I may do that with that 4 or 5-year-old kid with the scribble scrabble on the damn coloring book, but I'm not going to do that with you. I'm going to tell your ass the damn truth. And the truth is, there is a reason why Manny Pacquiao is not considered pound for pound number 1 or 1A, the best fighter in the world. Now, don't get me wrong. Manny Pacquiao is extremely talented. Manny Pacquiao has probably the best left hand in the business right now. But he is a very flawed fighter. Now, he could definitely move up in the rankings with this fight he has against Tim Bradley in April. And don't get me wrong, Manny Pacquiao, he does have a chance to win that fight. A very good chance to win the fight. But I am not going to sit here and tell you that this man is as good as a Floyd Mayweather, an Andre Ward, a Guillermo Rigo. Okay? Speaking of Guillermo Rigo, I'm going to tie in, some history that Guillermo Rigo and Manny Pacquiao, they have together when I get to that. Okay? So anyway, with that out the way, let's go ahead and get into my pound for pound top 10 list. Now, as you guys can see, I've showed you this graphic. Like I said, this is basically a universal top 4 for all of the very legit pound for pound lists. All right? And when I say legit, I'm talking about people who really, really follow the sport. They know the sweet science. We're not talking about some silly ass Jim Lampley, type of BS, which we all know is ridiculous. Anybody who says, I'm not going to put Guillermo Rigo in my top 3 because look at what Bob Arum said. Remember what Bob Arum said, Max? Bob said that people don't like him. And remember when they booed him? So that's the reason why I don't have him on the list. And let me just say something about that real quick. Max Kellerman, he went back and forth arguing with Jim Lampley, trying to explain to Jim Lampley, who doesn't get it. But yeah, Jim, you have to understand, Guillermo Rigo, he dominated Nonito Donaire, who was considered pound for pound top 3, top 4, right? Jim still didn't get it. Yeah, but the crowd booed him. They didn't like him. Because Jim doesn't understand that liking someone has absolutely nothing to do with you trying to figure out who is the best fighters in the world. I really wish when I heard Max arguing with Jim, I really wish Max would just say to Jim, why don't you do this, Jim? Why don't you come up with 2 separate lists, okay? You could have a list of fighters that are the most liked pound for pound and the most hated pound for pound. That'll be one list. And then you'll have another list of the best fighters in the world. Understand something. If you like someone or dislike someone, this is not American Idol, guys. It has absolutely nothing to do with if you like the guy. You can't say, I'm going to remove this guy because he is not that liked. If that's the case, then you would have to remove Floyd Mayweather from the top 10, period. You understand? The problem is because Jim Lampley is such an extreme biased person, a racially biased person, let's call it what it is, because who is he biased to? Okay? Who has he been biased to? This is not fucking a coincidence. We know what it's all about. And the bottom line is, Jim Lampley hates to admit that these fighters in particular, these 4 fighters in particular, are all the best fighters in the world. So he throws a smoke screen, he tries to remove some and do all kind of other silly shit. But like I said, back to the damn point. The point is, universally, on every real pound for pound list, the top 4 best fighters in the world are Mayweather, Andre Ward, Rigo, Tim Bradley, in that order. So usually I will start this off, this top 10 pound for pound, from the bottom to the top. But since we already know who the top four best fighters in the world are, I might as well just go ahead and change it up and start from the top down to the bottom. Okay? So, like I said, Floyd Mayweather, we already know he's number one. We already know universally Andre Ward is considered number two, best fighter in the world. I don't even have to explain why, because everyone already knows. Now, number three, best fighter universally in the world right now is Guillermo Rigondeaux. Now, Rigo, for some people who haven't heard about this, Freddie Roach, he said something that was pretty interesting about how good Rigo, is when he was actually training Guillermo. There was a time when Rigo and Manny Pacquiao obviously were in the same camp, and Manny Pacquiao was preparing for a big fight. It was only weeks before his fight, and Manny Pacquiao was sparring with a whole bunch of different sparring partners, etc. And Guillermo Rigo wanted to spar with Manny Pacquiao, but Freddie Roach, he wouldn't allow it. So a reporter, and this was all on an actual interview, okay, where Freddie Roach, we know Freddie Roach is very good at being brutally honest and telling the truth, even when he's not supposed to. So anyway, a reporter asked Freddie Roach, why won't you allow Manny Pacquiao to spar with Rigo? And now, before I give you Freddie Roach's response, let me remind you guys, at this time, and still today, Rigo fights at 118 pounds. Manny Pacquiao at the time and still today, he fights at 147 pounds. Freddie Roach said the reason why he doesn't want Manny to spar with Rigo is because he does not want Rigo to possibly discourage Manny Pacquiao before a big fight. That is unbelievable to hear him say that. So you guys have to understand, I'm constantly around professional boxers and amateurs sparring with each other. I understand the terminologies that are used. I've heard trainers say this on numerous occasions. I've seen professional boxers come here from Japan, former champions, and they're sparring with a guy who has no professional fights, but he's really, really good. And then the coach will walk over to the other coach, to the other trainer, and they say, hey, can you tell him to tone it down a little bit? We don't want our charge to get discouraged before his big fight. So can you tell your fighter to tone it down a little bit? In other words, the guy who has no fights, he's doing much better than he's supposed to. And they've got, more than a sparring partner. All right? So this is the same conversation, or I should say, this is basically the exact same thing that Freddie Roach was saying. We've already heard Freddie Roach praise Guillermo Rigo's skill when Freddie Roach has been in previous interviews talking about how good Guillermo Rigo. So I thought that was really, really an interesting thing for Freddie Roach to admit. Now, number four is obviously Tim Bradley. He has an official win over Manny Pacquiao, Ruslan Provodnikov, and Juan Marquez. Manny Pacquiao and Marquez, at the time that he beat them, were both considered pound for pound, top 10, top 5, I believe, best fighters in the world. So that's why Tim Bradley is at number 4. Moving on. Now, this is where I go off the script and I give you guys my number 5 pick. My number 5 pick is Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is undoubtedly the best junior welterweight fighter in the world right now. I believe his very impressive win over Lucas Matthysse catapulted him to number 5. Very difficult fighter to defeat, slickness, power, intelligence, etc. So that's why I have Danny Garcia at number 5. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. So my number 6 pick would be Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin, he is the best middleweight fighter in the world. There's a reason why Sergio Martinez and Team Martinez have made millions of excuses to avoid this man. What Gennady Golovkin, as far as I'm concerned, has done in the middleweight division, it has been impressive. A lot of people